It's time now for our Seen and Unseen segment where we expose the big cultural stories of the day. Well, tonight we break down the optics of President Trump versus Chuck and Nancy, the rebuttal that launched 1,000 memes. And we do that with our own Raymond Arroyo, who was caught on film committing a crime. No, there's no way.
Better not be.
We have surveillance video, and joining us now, the aforementioned Raymond Arroyo. Okay, Raymond, this thing last night, we were all sitting back there in the offices. Oh, no. And when they walked out, Chuck and Nancy, after the president spoke, the peals of laughter. Now, that's unfair because TV, not everybody is a supermodel. That's fine. Why was that so compelling?
Well, it was so compelling because audiences watch. It had a lot to do with the staging. It had a lot to do with what the speakers, what Pelosi, the president, and Schumer were doing, intentionally or unintentionally, Laura. On TV, little things matter. People are looking for visual clues to agree or disagree with what a speaker's saying. Now, in this case, in the case of that rebuttal, things got a little creepy right off the top from that wide hole shot, that slow push.
It's so pulling.
To speak directly to the American people tonight about how we can end this shutdown and meet the needs of the American people.
Notice how Schumer is staring into the camera with this menace, and Nancy never blinks as she speaks. She's kind of just robotically running through it. And the hallway push at the top, that was a big mistake, Laura.
Who was produced? I mean, remember when Obama, when he did his big first speech at the Democratic convention, didn't they fly in Spielberg to produce, or Geffen? They came in, that thing was shot well.
His big announcement.
This was like, the kids at Hofstra.
Well, this reminded me of a horror movie, frankly, that with the slow push and watching these two figures at the end of the hole.
Psycho or...
Hello?
Oh, that's awful. What was that?
This is a movie called It Follows.
Oh, you want to bet? You're really
like they're coming
reaching
for the voter. No, but then there was the moment, Laura, where Pelosi finished her portion of the speech, and then she handed the baton to Schumer. Watch this exchange. It tells us a lot.
Open the government. Thank you. Leader Schumer?
Now, look what she does with her jaw. She does this strange jaw readjustment thing.
Oh, God.
Audiences, look, they were wondering, why am I kind of thrown off by this? Those visuals send different cues. They make people a little frightened. And then Schumer, he speaks to her. He thanks her without ever looking over to her. He's like, "Thank you very much, Speaker Pelosi. Let me tell you, the border is in big trouble." It had
that scared me, what you just did. Don't do that again.
It had the air of Nosferatu about it.
What's that? Oh my.
Okay.
Really scrape at the bottom of the barrel for the
That's what I thought. No, when he's staring in that way, that's what it reminded me of.
I kept itching at this. What did he look like, though? It was like that one... Is it that one villain?
Two-Face. From Batman. Two-Face. He's got one eye a little off. We got to go. We're going to run out of time.
Okay.
Let's go to the president in the Oval Office. Now, you and I saw something, Laura, when we watched this. The president was in command. He was seated there. But if you notice, watch the president. His eyes are a little off camera.
Now, how does that happen?
Well, it's either the prompter is beneath the lens, which means you're looking down rather than into the camera, or the something was off, or the camera was too close to him. But whatever the reason, he's not looking through to the viewer. That's the one
That's
critique
a long
here.
little, but he was
But otherwise, he was really in command, very emotive, and I thought made some important points.
He was kind of Reagan-esque, I thought, but it was a little off on the camera shot, but I shouldn't say that, because whoever did that's now going to get in trouble.
Well, not in trouble. But
that's just a tiny tweak. Probably only we notice it because we're TV
Now,
people.
Needless to say,
picky.
Chuck and Nancy, Laura, captured the imagination of many on the internet. A slew of memes rose up almost instantly.
All created by us.
No, not true.
No.
Here are three of my favorites that we found. This one is the Green Acres meme.
Having failed to get Mexico to pay for his ineffective,
That's
unnecessary
witness.
and unable to convince the Congress or
that looks
the
like
It's the Green Acres theme behind them. And then there was this next meme. I call it the head swap.
Oh, no,
isn't that scary? This keeps me up at night thinking of this. They put Pelosi's face on one side and Schumer's on the other. And finally, Nancy and Chuck as supervillains.
Oh, my God.
Isn't that awful? So cruel.
Well, I just kept thinking of Obama saying that we need fresh blood in the Democrat Party, and I kept seeing that going, okay. Maybe he said bloodless.
We got to move on.
You were at that off-the-record luncheon. You were with all the fancy people.
No, they invited anchors of different networks, but someone clearly broke the ground rules here. And that hurts everybody, because now you're not going to get any insight into the president's head again.
I wouldn't.
But the New York Times said two people briefed on the discussion, shared this information with the New York Times. You know what that means? One of these anchors ran back, talked to their staff, they leaked to the New York Times. Right. That's called laundering sources. I don't like that.
I need to stop you right now because we actually have some breaking news.
Oh, breaking.
This is your Fox News alert. After a frantic manhunt, police are making an arrest of a man accused of relieving himself in a California family's yard and stealing extension cords. The suspect, R. Arroyo, name rings a bell, also caught on camera getting intimate with an intercom. And that was in the middle of the night at someone else's home. Raymond, what do you have to say for yourself? Are you the doorbell licker?
Well, no, I am not. The man was identified as Roberto Daniel Arroyo, I will have you know. He is no relation, thank God. This poor guy, he's a homeless man. He's licking, he's licking the doorbell of this home. He apparently did this for 3 hours. Now, I don't know about you, Laura, but I've never licked anything for 3 hours, and if I do, at the risk of sounding like one of those ED commercials, call medical help. Other than stamps, I'm not going to be licking anything for more than 3 minutes, much less 3 hours, okay? It was not me. I was not the doorbell.
Wait a second. Maybe he could go to a federal judge on the Ninth Circuit and he could say, I'm going to wed this. It was an intimate
he could marry the doorbell.
I mean,
I tell you, they capture so many amazing things.
You get around, Raymond.
Well, she has been in Congress for less than a week, and already freshman Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez seems to be stealing some of the spotlight from Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi. She issued her own response last night to President Trump's speech with a call to abolish ICE. Watch.
The president should not be asking for more money to an agency that has systematically violated human rights. The president should be really defending why we are funding such an agency at all. Because right now what we are seeing is death. Right now what we are seeing is the violation of human rights. This is systematic, it is wrong, and it is anti-American.
Here now, Charlie Hurd, opinion editor at the Washington Times and a Fox News contributor, and David Brown, former senior advisor to Senator Patty Murray and a Democratic strategist. David Brown, let me start with you. According to our information, she just voted as part of the last funding measure to support ICE. She certainly seems to be against this horrible, inhumane institution, but she supported the payment to ICE.
Hey, Martha, good evening. So I watched her remarks in their entirety last night, and what I heard her saying was that she wanted us to be focusing on ICE and on the role that ICE had in the death of the child who was in custody on Christmas Day, and she was expressing a moral outrage that anyone in U.S. custody at the border would be in jeopardy of dying. She also said that, and I think this is appropriate for a congresswoman to say, that we should be exercising oversight and holding any federal agency to account. So I'm not sure I would read her comments the way perhaps you have. But there's a broader point here too, which is, again, we find ourselves, it's a bit of a broken record, we find ourselves as a country debating immigration. There's a right way to do that, there's a wrong way to do that. The right way to do that is to open the government and allow for Democrats and Republicans to come to the table and actually create a space where we can have a real debate and allow for a compromise and find a way forward. The wrong way to do that is unfortunately where we are right now, and that is at this impasse with the president holding federal employees and their families hostage.
All right. With regard to her, piping up last night, she's definitely very vocal, which she has every right to be. Whoopi Goldberg didn't think it was such a great idea, though. Here she is on that.
There are a whole bunch of people in the Democratic Party who have been busting their to make sure that women get what they need, people get what they need, children get what they need. So you just got in there, and I know you got lots of good ideas, but I would encourage you to sit still for a minute and learn the job.
Charlie?
Welcome to the 2020 campaign cycle, and I think we're going to be seeing this for the next 2 years. And, the whole reason that Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer went out last night to deliver their remarks is because they're desperate to not only counter President Trump, but to give a sort of reasonable response for their party. And, of course, that gets completely undermined when you have somebody far more exciting and far more youthful and says quite frankly, crazy things like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez out there talking about how un-American the ICE agents are. This is like really super fringe stuff that even Democrats don't agree with. But honestly, the biggest problem I think remains that not necessarily Cortez's statements, although all of that about ICE and about sanctuary cities really does undercut any reasonable argument that Democrats might make. But if you just listen to what Nancy Pelosi said, the idea that she says that the wall is immoral and that the entire thing is a manufactured crisis by the president, those are pretty outlandish things too. And so I don't know which is harder to which of those Democratic talking points is the hardest for them to defend against.
Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer and Alexandria Ocasio have called for the government to be reopened. They think that this whole thing, we need to move on from all this. At one point, Ocasio-Cortez said that she thought that members of Congress should forego their salaries if other people aren't getting paid. And David, we called her office to see if she's done that. She's been asked several times. She said, "I got to go," when she was asked about it. Do you know whether or not she has volunteered to forego her own salary?
I don't, but look, I'm always a fan of holding Congress accountable and actually functioning. I was serving as an aide in 2013 when the Republicans shut down the government to pick a fight with President Obama, and I was furloughed along with hundreds of thousands of other fellow employees. And look, the reality is this, for these people and their families, this is not a game. There's a real cost to folks. It's about whether they can make their mortgage, whether they can pay for gas or food. I mean, I was reading stories this weekend. Most Americans don't have savings, and so for a lot of these people, this political game and inside the Beltway bluster with the president and back and forth with Mitch McConnell on the floor of the Senate, it has real meaningful consequences for people back home, and that's what, to me, that's really the heartbreaking piece of this.
Well, they've had a long time to work it out, and they always seem to not be able to do anything until they get to this point, which I think most people who run any kind of business thinks is reprehensible and ridiculous, but that's where we are. I got to leave it there, guys. Thank you very much. We'll have you back in. David Brown, Charlie Hurt, always good to see you.